Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Modern and Modest with myself as your host, Noshina Ghani. Well, we all are quite familiar with the phrase that health is a state of body and wellness a state of being. So today we're going to be sharing some insight and some advice on how you could better your health and your weight loss goals. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Baker, and welcome to Modern and Modest here in Durban at the beautiful Aha Avondale Boutique Hotel. So, Dr. Baker, your passion being weight loss and I would think aesthetics, as well as looking out for every individual's health and wellness. But before we get into weight loss, I'm actually very interested in listening a little bit more about how you could help us and give us insight as to how we would go about a weight loss program. Okay. But your background is homeopathy, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so why have you chosen to become a homeopath?
So I come from a family of medical practitioners. About 90% of my family are in the medical field, in specializing in their own way. And when I was young, I actually got married very early. I was 16 at the time, and I was still at school. And when choosing a field of study, I really wanted to do medicine. I mean, I was already 16 and had already delivered a baby with my dad at his medical center.
So let me get this correct. You were 16, married, and still at school?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was by choice. My parents obviously come from a very academic background, and studying was the most important thing that we needed to accomplish in life. So I had always known I had to complete my studies, even though I was already married. And experiencing that, delivering the baby with my dad at his medical practice confirmed it for me that I wanted to do this. But also at the same time, we had so many medical doctors in the family already. And my uncle, being an inspiration for me, had said to me, "Look, Raisa, we have so many people that have already studied medicine. And alternate medicine seems to be where people are starting to move toward. And it would be really good in terms of having a complete medical system to study alternate medicine." And he had seen a homeopath and had good results. And that is when I said, okay, why not? Let me try. Let me go see what it's all about. And when I was introduced to it, at first I wasn't sure about how would I incorporate this, try to integrate it with other health practitioners. But alhamdulillah, it's actually probably the best decision I've ever made, and I would never look back and I would never change. And to this day, I think it benefits my patients more that we can understand both sides of medicine, and it's not choosing conventional as opposed to alternate, but sort of integrating the approach.
So it's pretty much a very holistic approach.
Yes, you could say very holistic. But at the end of the day, wellness comes from treating what is the problem in the body and trying to treat what's the cause rather than treating the symptom always works better. And we can work with your medical practitioner to bring about those results. So I strongly believe in not choosing this or that, but actually integrating both of it together.
Okay, so alhamdulillah. So how long have you been practicing for?
I qualified in 2011, so it's been about 7 years now. The day I had signed my thesis was the same day that my son was born, and he's 7 years old.
So you definitely have a story to tell with both your kids.
So I've been in practice since November 2011.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So Dr. Baker, I think my next question to you and our viewers are waiting to understand weight loss a little bit more. You know, I think weight loss is something that's been trending for centuries, and I say trending because every individual that you would speak to, and in the times we are in today, it's not just females that are concerned about their weight, because it obviously affects your confidence in how you present yourself. But now there's so many weight loss programs around. There's some diets would tell you stay away from carbs, others would tell you a high protein diet, and then you hear of the quick fix. So your expertise and your background, when it comes to weight loss, what would you recommend as the most cost effective one, and what should an individual's diet actually comprise of?
So that is the diversity of the human body and the diversity of culture and tradition in our lifestyles. There's no one specific plan that everybody can follow. I think the easiest way to lose weight and the most effective, even cost effective, would be to have your plan tailor-made for you and your lifestyle. So if we have a patient that comes in and says to us that I only eat traditional food, and if that traditional food means that they are having a curry every day and they are used to that, and they are not going to find it very difficult then to start having a chicken salad in place of that, or to cut out the rice completely. And what happens is they'll go and buy all of their fruit and vegetables, and then suddenly come the end of the week, they're starting to fall off track. They're missing the spice, they're missing the nutrients that they're used to having. And then everything just goes to waste. So it's a loss of money as well. I believe that a patient needs to come in, they need to have their health assessed. We need to look for nutrient deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies. We need to look at their endocrine system, if they have hormonal imbalances. What are their symptoms? Are they losing hair? Are their menstrual cycles irregular? And then base a plan around their lifestyles as well. So we'll look at their current eating plan, breakfast, lunch and supper, redirect that plan to a fashion of, you know, enjoyment when they eat. So food is such a social thing, and leaving that part out is the most common downfall. And when a patient comes off of their supplements and their medicines, it's generally because they couldn't manage that eating plan, so they think this is not working for me anymore. And I think our success rate lies in that we are very patient orientated and very personal. It's impossible to go onto our website and purchase an eating plan. It doesn't work that way. If we need to see a patient, we see them in person, or we do an online one-on-one consultation. That way we know how to develop the plan for the patient, and that way they have good results.
Well, that definitely makes sense, because every individual has a different feel for food, you know, and apart from a different feel for food, it's also the times you decide to eat. I mean, you may be a breakfast person, and I may be someone that prefers having not having anything for breakfast and having just dinner. But you mentioned breakfast, lunch and supper. So your 3 meals a day. Would you not incorporate any snacks in between?
So then again, it's patient based. So if you had to come to me and say, I don't eat breakfast, or I'm not a breakfast person, or I feel nauseous in the morning, then your plan needs to be centered around that. And for different patients, snacking may be a good idea, and for others it may be a total disaster. So if we have a patient with insulin resistance, we know new research shows us that for insulin resistance, snacking is a bad thing. And here in the past we've been told have 6 meals a day, or 6 small meals a day, or 3 meals a day with 2 snacks in between. But for the patient who is insulin resistant, in the short term it would help, but in the long term it's actually going to do more damage that they have those many meals for the day. So we see if we can tailor the plan to incorporate some intermittent fasting, and if not, because the patient has a large appetite, then we'll choose food groups that they enjoy, but set them out at the appropriate times. And the snack options also, sometimes you see people snacking on 4 to 6 fruit for the day. In essence, it should be 2 fruit and 3 vegetables, and that's where you should get your nutrients from. So again, one plan is not suitable for everyone. Breakfast, lunch and supper, we have patients who eat 1 meal a day and come to us for weight loss. It will be no breakfast, no lunch, a normal supper, yet they're stuck in their weight. And for that patient, yes, including something for breakfast and lunch will allow them to lose weight, whereas for someone else, it's not going to work. So I definitely prefer having the personalized option, and I think that's what makes us unique, is that we give our patients that in one-on-one interaction.
Okay, you mentioned your hormonal imbalance that could be a factor towards weight gain, or that individual that just can't lose weight. How would you say your hormones interfere with that?
Okay, so let's take a simple example of polycystic ovarian syndrome. As much as it is a huge word and it is a syndrome of symptoms, understanding how a simple food group can make it all worse can assist us in drawing up that eating plan. So we know with polycystic ovarian syndrome, the patient generally has insulin resistance. When insulin levels are very highly elevated, we find that they interfere, or they dictate how much of the androgens and how much of the female hormones are produced. Now we have a patient with acne, for example, who has polycystic ovarian syndrome. If their insulin levels are elevated by the foods that they're consuming, so maybe they have 2 slices of toast every morning for breakfast, we find that the androgen levels then are elevated, and this causes now an imbalance in their sebum production in the skin, because the androgens at the end of the day are regulating sebum production.
Sure.
So if we can cut back on the insulin, or we can cut back on the food group that is causing the insulin to be elevated, we can actually treat the problem. But then again, it's not as simple as just saying, let's just cut out the carbs. It's also about regulating the body. So using alternate medicine, we can regulate and nourish and also support the body's organs to help them function on their own. As opposed to, if you look at a young, like say a 14-year-old girl, the option conventionally might be that she should be put on the pill to regulate her cycle if that's the problem, if she's got symptoms of polycystic ovarian syndrome, or to put her on the pill simply to treat her acne. But as a parent, then there's a lot of, they're very reserved to actually go out and do that. I mean, what other reason does this child need to be on an oral contraceptive? But conventional medicine sometimes has to go that route because that is the option that they are given. Whereas using alternate medicine, then we can help that child regulate her hormones by producing the right quantities naturally. And that is through using either herbal or homeopathic medicine. Sometimes we integrate Ayurvedic medicine as well. And the best part of it all is that you can do this with the assistance of your general practitioner, or we do work with your specialist at the same time, so that you don't have to give up one form of medicine. You can actually integrate them together. Just depending on the person's age, they need to be on an oral contraceptive, they need to be on supplements or medicine. And there's no yes or no answer. I think each patient being assessed will give us that answer. And we have to also sometimes request bloods to tell us whether this patient is at a state where they need medicine, or can we do it naturally? Can we use supplements then, or do we need to go the herbal medicine route? And also to compare before and after. If we have a patient who comes in with a fasting insulin of 79, and then we've checked that result, we can in 6 months' time compare and say, hey, you are now no longer insulin resistant and this was your treatment. So for the future, it helps in terms of evidence and evidence-based research that will actually add to the foundation of using alternate medicine in South Africa.
So what would a realistic expectation be for that individual that's looking to lose weight? Say now if I want to lose 5 kilos, I'm overweight. So what would a realistic expectation be?
In terms of a time frame, I like to set out for my patients goals if they are at the state of mind when they can accept that goal. Every patient is different. If you come in with a lower starting weight, you're unlikely to lose 10 kilos in a month. But if you come in weighing like around 90 to 100 kilos, it's very possible to lose that much. Thus far, we've had an average weight loss of about 4 to 10 kilos per month. The minimum weight loss that we see in a month is around 2 kilos, and that is with a low starting weight. It depends again on the patient's current lifestyle. For example, we had a patient yesterday who came in for his first follow-up, and he said to me, I cannot exercise and I will not exercise, when he saw me 1 month ago. And he did not exercise. But his eating plan was tailor-made so that it still incorporated the carbohydrates, the food that he loved to eat, the food that his wife prepared, but altered for weight loss. We also treated the fact that he was insulin resistant and vitamin D deficient. And within 1 month, just 4 weeks, with 0 exercise and still eating carbohydrates, he had lost 6.5 kilos. That was because it was patient specific and falls within our average of 4 to 10 kilos. So we really aim for that much, just over half a kilo a week. So we'd say maybe a kilo a week is our goal. If we're not achieving those goals, then we look deeper into the bloods to see what could be preventing you from losing this weight.
Okay. Now you mentioned something very important with regards to a teenager having hormonal imbalance and obesity. But I understand that you've also researched further and picked up that amongst teenagers now obesity has been, you know, we used to hear about it in, I think, abroad, but now in South Africa we see more and more of that with males and females. So how would you then treat a teenager that's obese?
Okay. I actually love treating teenagers at my practice. I find that they are now understanding that their bodies are changing, and some of them may be apprehensive on their first visit, but they love coming back. Okay. And I think it's because we make it simple for them, and because they know they're changing physical appearance, they want to look good at this stage. Some of them are reserved, but for teenagers specifically, we draw up a plan that they can use at school and a home-based plan. So we'll give them school lunch ideas, and then we'll give them an idea of what they should have for breakfast, lunch, and supper. We don't dictate to them that you have to eat oats for breakfast and cracker bread for lunch and have something specific for supper. And also remember now, as time progresses, a lot of children don't want to eat fruit and vegetables. So to put it in their diet or to force them to eat it, they are rebellious at this stage and they want to do the exact opposite. So at the bottom of our plans, we usually put in a little note for the teenagers to say what sort of exercise should they do, keep it minimal so they don't get like a shock. And then we also ask them, is there any foods that you think you won't be able to do without? And they usually say, oh, I really need to have cold drink, or I really need to have a sweet now and again. So if they need assistance with that, we've also, because in alternate medicine, we can compound and dispense our medicines. So we've put together a formula that can assist them with their cravings, with their metabolism, and with their appetite control. Whereas you said out there's so many products, so many fad products. These can be dangerous for these kids. So we've developed a product that can assist them, and we usually incorporate the product based on the patient, or the supplement based on the patient, once we've concluded on their blood results as well.
Okay. Now with blood results, I think it's a nice starting point, because usually there's an underlying issue that is hindering your progress with weight loss. So with thyroid playing a huge part in weight gain or weight loss, we know we've got the underactive and we've got the overactive. How do you find this affecting the patient's requirements for either weight loss or weight gain?
You know, patients that come to us have tried everything and are not losing weight. So we see them right at the end of the road when they're almost giving up with the situation. So we know we need to make this patient lose weight. We need to gain their confidence back. If a patient comes to us with an underactive thyroid, whether they are on treatment already, whether they're taking the Euthyrox or the Altroxin or not, we still do a repeat on the blood test. We noticed that if we treat this patient using alternate medicine together with the conventional medicine or without, and try to get the gland to actually start working again, then they feel the difference. They feel the difference in the energy levels, their hair loss stops, their skin doesn't feel so dry anymore, they're not constipated, and most importantly, emotionally, they feel better. They feel lighter and less depressed. So for these patients in particular, they need to be, there's no eating plan that's going to be easy for them to follow, and it's also not going to show results. They have to actually be on some kind of form of treatment. Generally, it's phytotherapeutic, meaning we're using herbal medicine for them to nourish and stimulate the thyroid gland to start producing its own hormone. The time frame from this to see results is generally after the first month. Within a 3 to 6 month period with their physician, we've noticed that they're actually producing more thyroxine on their own. So we're now sort of like regenerating the gland. Ultimately, at the end of the day, working with their physician, they could eventually reach a stage where they could come off their chronic medicine, and that by then they have lost all their weight as well. Diet plays a huge role in an underactive thyroid, especially if the patient is missing nutrients. So maybe they need to go on an iodine-rich diet. Maybe they need to readjust the plan so that it's metabolic boosting. And for these patients, then we go a little bit more specific into telling them which food groups are good for you and which are going to actually make the gland work less. And funnily enough, or strangely enough, it can also be certain vegetables that can cause the gland to become underactive if eaten in too large quantities. So we need to have the patient's specific lifestyle and orientation to develop their sort of plan.
Okay, so you touched on energy levels. You know, if you have your thyroid gland functioning the way it should be, then it picks up your energy levels. But juicing and smoothies now has become a huge buzz where people find it makes them feel better, or it's gives you that feeling of wellness, and it also ups your energy levels. Now, I know you're very popular with your green smoothie, it is. So how does this actually help with detox? Is it just a state of mind where you feel like you're taking down greens and it's working for you? How often should you be having it to actually get the full detox?
So over the last year or so, or let's say over the last 2 years, we had formulated a recipe book that patients could use to follow good healthy eating methods, and in there we incorporated some smoothies and some juices. In the last year, we've taken the recipe book into a restaurant, and that's where we produce some of these smoothies and juices. Then there comes the point of where, how often should you actually incorporate it in the diet, and what should be in that smoothie? Because many people have a smoothie every morning for breakfast and have zero weight loss. What's in the smoothie is very important. So the green smoothie that's very well talked about and that we've become well known for is a mix of fruit and vegetables, but more veggies than fruit, and the base is water. So there's no yogurt, there's no almond milk, there's no dairy products in there. The reason people feel so well after doing this is because, if I had to put it bluntly, would you have had those vegetables and fruit for breakfast outside of the detox or outside of that challenge? You probably wouldn't. And if you skipped breakfast initially and went to work and progressed with your day, as opposed to if you did drink the smoothie, you definitely would have more energy. Sometimes our body needs a break from processed foods, and we need to sort of give it a little bit of a wake up. And by introducing lots of greens that way, we find that the energy levels soar, the skin looks better. Even for somebody who doesn't need to lose weight, it's really good as a cleanse or a cleansing program for those just few days that you do it for. So in my opinion, we shouldn't detox forever. You shouldn't do this, the detoxing on a regular basis for 15 to 20 days at a time. You should do it for about 7 to 10 days maximum, and then come back to your healthy eating plan, and then reintroduce it a few months later. And that way you'd have a good drop in weight as well. Your skin looks fabulous. You can still have your smoothie as a treat now and again. But remember to be cautious. Don't say you're going to have a smoothie breakfast, lunch and supper for 3 days in a row. On the third day you collapse and then you wake up with an injury. Yeah, so we'd like to be cautious, but we really enjoy doing it, and we've done it quite often on Instagram and on Facebook with people doing it overseas with us and giving us their feedback and the amazing results that they'd have.
That's great. So a recipe book sounds really interesting. So what recipes can you share with our viewers today that's quick, easy and cost effective?
Cauliflower rice is not everybody takes to it, but a cauliflower puree is one that you can sneak in anywhere, and people don't even know it's cauliflower puree. My husband is not a vegetable eater. I would say he wouldn't just eat cauliflower, but one day I decided to make it and not say anything to anyone in my house. So we took cauliflower, steamed it in a pot with you can add in some salt once it's done. So after the steaming process is over, put it into your food processor or your blender with a little bit of the steaming liquid, salt and pepper. And if you want it to be more luxurious and soft and rich, then you can add in the tiniest knob of butter. So there's no carbohydrates in there, so adding in the butter is not going to be a problem then. And you give it a whiz, and it comes out like the best, lightest, most delicious creamy mashed potatoes that you've ever had, and in fact it's just cauliflower. So it's an easy recipe to try. It doesn't take long, and a good substitute even for the kids as opposed to chips and mash.
Okay, sounds very interesting. Okay, so just before we wrap up today, what tips can you share with our viewers just when it comes through to health, wellness, maybe those individuals that are looking to either maintain weight or lose weight?
I think weight loss or weight maintenance as such, the side effect of wellness should be weight loss. So we should aim to be well rather than just trying to lose weight. You know, in this day and age when our food is so nutrient deficient, our choices are nutrient deficient, and our lives are so fast paced that it's so easy to just, you don't have to walk to the fax machine anymore. You can just send an email from your cell phone. Kids don't go to the library anymore. They can just read a book online. So we need to remember where we came from, and we also need to remember that we were made to eat the things that grow from the ground. We were made to eat proteins in the form of chicken, fish and meat. Why do we opt for options that are man-made when we've been given them by Allah Ta'ala, has directly given us these foods? always look at yourself and think about the health conditions you might suffer from, or how can you better your health. So if you think you might have a symptom that's worrying you, or you have noticed hair loss recently, your eyes have a lot of dark circles, or you have acne and you're gaining weight, then there is most likely an underlying condition. And you need to take that step to have yourself tested, and then from there we can develop a plan for you, or you can get assistance from your medical practitioner as well. We love to see that the side effect of wellness is better skin and reaching your goal weight, and most importantly that the patient themselves mentally and emotionally also feel a lot better. So a complete wellness and holistic outcome.
Okay, well that was very interesting, and something for me and all our viewers to keep in mind. Very nicely put out that the side effect of wellness should
so the aim is definitely to be well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Dr. Baker. You definitely make it sound so easy, and that was really great for our viewers, and a lot of insight on how we could better ourselves.
Jazakallah for having me.
Okay, so that was Dr. Raisa Abu Baker, a homeopath based here in Durban, very passionate about health, wellness and weight loss. So please keep watching, and after the break we'd be speaking to Nazreen Ali, who is very passionate about fitness and your well-being. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nazreen, welcome to Modern and Modest, and indeed a pleasure having a woman of all talents on our show today.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure being on your show, Nishina.
Okay, so Nazreen, your background and your passion has a lot to do with personal fitness, assisting women to reach the ideal look and confidence that they desire, as well as well-being and health, and I believe you do competitions and championships, and there's just so much, I could go on and on. But what piqued my interest in you was very rarely do you find females that are interested in wanting to take a career choice in becoming a pilot. And for me that was very unusual, and it piqued my interest in asking you, why a pilot? I mean, why not anything else?
As a child, I was very fascinated with planes and helicopters, and so what had happened was, what had put me off that passion at that time was the physics and math that we had to, that was one of the requirements, when we were in school with regards to being a pilot. However, 6 months ago, I decided to take a shot. And I approached Legend Aviation, which is in Virginia Airport, and they were like, okay, no, you don't need physics anymore. So I was like, oh my God, I can eventually carry out that passion. I was like, really, really ecstatic, and I immediately enrolled, and I became a student pilot. Well, now I am a student pilot with Legend Aviation.
Okay, so basically, when you're passionate about anything, you get to reach that effortlessly because you're so passionate about it. And I believe that somewhere down the line, if you have a passion for something, you eventually get to where you originally wanted to do something. You know, if you had a passion, for example, being a pilot since you were a kid, but then you ventured out into health and fitness, you could still actually enjoy the best of both, because
absolutely,
you know,
yes,
at some point you're going to get there, and it's going to sort of get you to finally reach your goals, being a little kid and so forth. So is that why you're flying high with energy all the time? I think looking up at all the airplanes flying around as a little kid. So Nazreen, have you found that being challenging for you? How has that been going for you?
With regards to the flying, okay, it's I'm enjoying it. Mm-hmm. The only challenge, I guess, is with having to have, like my career with, I'm a sports conditioning coach and a personal trainer,
okay,
and an athlete as well. So I'm kind of juggling my studies, you know, between my career as well as a sports conditioning coach and an athlete. So that's the only challenge. However, I love doing what I'm doing, you know, with regards to flying and the fitness. it's all the things that I love doing and I'm passionate about doing. So yes, that's the only challenge I face, just the time. It's just like there's not enough time.
Okay, we had a very interesting guest on our show, in our first segment of the show, and we were chatting about weight loss. Now, we both can agree that when it comes to weight loss, it's not just diet specific. You've got to keep fit, and it has to go together. You can't be leading a sedentary lifestyle and just relying on cutting out carbs or whatever, because it's not, you're not going to be able to maintain that over a period of time. So with your fitness programs or with exercise, what advice can you give our viewers with regards to exercise? How important is it?
No, Sheena, I absolutely agree with what you say. Firstly, you can't lead a sedentary life and rely on diet, which these days, if you look at most what can I say, organizations or companies that are offering, or people, private people that are offering just diet plans out there, and there's no training program or you know, which actually complement like the diet plans and stuff. It doesn't work. It really doesn't work. You can't lead a sedentary life. Okay, moving forward, I'd say that, you know, with regards to leading you know, a healthy life and wanting to gain your fitness goals, a diet is 80% and training 20%. So what you put in it, your training is very important as well. With regards to training, there's different kinds of training. You know, if we look at an individual, all individuals are unique and you need different training programs for them. One training program is not going to work for you as it would work for me. With regards to health issues and injuries, if we look at stuff like that. So yes, diets also don't work. The same diet won't work, won't apply for me as it would for you. So it has to be different. It has to be, as a personal trainer and a sports conditioning coach, I would profile my clients individually. I would never at any time give you a generic diet or training program. I don't believe in that. I believe every individual is unique, and diet plans work differently, so with everybody.
So yes, I can agree, we all are unique in our own little way.
Absolutely.
So coming down to your exercise programs, now for an individual that's never gone to the gym or never exercised, I think those individuals find it very intimidating. Is it something you need to prep for mentally? I mean, how do you psych yourself up to go out for that first session?
All right, I've come across that a lot. I have clients that usually come in, and they, you know, when they walk into a gym setting, I think they're intimidated with equipment because they don't know how to use it. It's the fear of not knowing, you know, how to use it, or you know, the fear of, what if I do this wrong? What if I do that wrong? And also the fear of embarrassment, you know, doing certain exercises. If I'm not doing it wrong, people are going to make fun out of me, because nowadays gym has become a trend. You know, training has become a trend. You find on Instagram, on social media, on TV, the news, everywhere, where people are, you know, getting together and doing all kinds of different training programs, and they make it look so fancy that, yes, some people do feel intimidated when they walk into the gym, you know, and they're like, oh my God, no, but I wouldn't be able to do this or that. The thing is, there's always a first step.
Okay.
The first step would be to lose the fear. Yes, it is a mindset. It's mind over matter. And psychologically, you've got to have that meeting with yourself and say, hey, I'm setting this goal to become fit and healthy, and it's about a lifestyle, and you know, and basically adopt that lifestyle. And you got to say to yourself, hey, you know what, this is what I want to do, and there's no two ways about it. It's either you do it, or either you still take time off and think about it, but there's no two ways about it. You want to do it, get out there, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Now, chatting about equipment, yes, I can agree that when you look at all the equipment around, and being a female as well, the first thing that comes to mind is that if I am going to use certain types of equipment, I'm going to bulk, and that's a fear that we have as women. I'm sure you get that all the time. But
Yeah.
are there any exercises that we could perhaps do without having the need of using equipment?
All right. Firstly, I heard you say bulk.
Have to correct that.
No, no, not correct. I just want to know. Okay, when you say bulk, you mean like put on muscles?
Yeah, you get that with ladies. I mean, if you speak about strength training,
Yes.
you talk about going on equipment.
Yeah.
You think that, oh my word, am I actually going to look like a man? Am I going to gain muscle? Am I going to look big? Because a woman doesn't want to look big. You still want to keep
I
the
know.
feminine side of yourself. You know.
I'm actually very happy that you've brought this up because I want women to know out there. Firstly, all right, using equipment, using weight training is actually amazing for you, right? Weight training actually it tones you. You can lose weight on doing resistance training using weights. It's how you use it. And honestly speaking, lots of women have also, you know, they've spoken to me about this concern. Like lots of clients as well, they would be like, no, but if I use like weights, aren't I gonna be like a man, become like a man and put on muscle? No, we all need muscle. Sure. We all need muscle. You cannot look like an athlete that takes, you know, that goes onto stage, who's got muscle definition. Okay, I'm an athlete.
And you've been on stage.
Yes, I have. Okay. All right. But the thing is, it takes more, you know, to get there, to be an athlete. You can't just gain muscle and you know, from using weights. It's a kind of training that you do using weights. Firstly, weight training is important for you. It actually improves your bone density. It's amazing. The older you get, the better it is for you. Weight training is amazing. It also sculpts you. It tones you. You burn calories, more calories as to just standing on a treadmill and doing 20 minutes of treadmill, as to doing weight training and you're burning 38 hours after weight training.
Wow.
For 38 hours while you're sitting, while you're sleeping, you're burning calories. You're burning. So I would advise women out there to not be afraid to do weight training. It's amazing for you. You know, if you're looking for results, weight training resistance is amazing. You would be surprised with the results you achieve from it. You're not going to look like a man. Definitely not. You're not going to look like a man. Yes, you're going to tone. Yes, you're going to burn calories, but you're not going to look like a man. But that is a fear out there, and I know that. I've come across it. But no, you're not going to.
All right. Okay, now with weight training or using equipment, how often should one be training?
All right, that depends on an individual. Okay, say suppose you want to, it depends. You want to, you know, if you want to lose weight, your trainer would actually, if you're starting as a sedentary, somebody who's sedentary, you know, you'd probably start with maybe 3 days a week training. Okay, but your personal trainer or your coach would advise you on what kind of training, because you don't just get into weight training. As somebody coming from a sedentary background with regards to not training, you know, absolutely, it's like, you know, you got to take, it's a beginner's phase. You go into beginner's phase where you do all your fitness and your trainer would take you through everything. Or if you're in a gym as well, go up to them and speak to them about, you know, how you could, what can you do to start off training with your, you know, with regards to your exercises, your choice of exercises, cardio.
Training definitely has its advantages with, like you mentioned, bone density, toning, keeping fit, high energy levels. And in the times that we live in today, and I think as women, we need to be equipped with how would you defend yourself. So if you're not going to be strong and energetic, how would you defend yourself? And I know that you're a master at self-defense, so how can we protect ourselves?
I wouldn't say master. I'd say, you know, I just know a little bit, enough to, I think, try to protect myself if something had to happen. All right. Firstly, I would I would advise viewers and people who are interested in wanting to do self-defense, you know, to defend themselves. Well, in the current situation that we live in right now, it's always wise to know a little bit of self-defense, you know, in order to defend yourself in a situation as women. I would say go to a school, you know, where they do MMA or but to somebody legit, you know, and enroll, and then take it from there, where you're learning MMA with, you know, somebody that's experienced, because you can get injured. So I'm
just going to interrupt you there. With your personal training that you offer, do you offer a bit of self-defense to your clients? Do you teach them on how you could protect yourself? Do you have to specifically go to the school for that?
All right. Well, I do have a gym, and I do have an instructor who does MMA. So we do, yes. So we do offer MMA classes and self-defense, which my instructor does. Yes.
Okay, and I'm sure having gone for the MMA classes, it should help you. I don't know. I've never been for one, so you can tell me a little bit more about what does it entail. What do you do in it?
All right. With MMA, it's also it's fight fit as well, where you it's incorporated. It's mixed martial arts. However, it's there's a lot of fitness to it as well. So yes, you're definitely going to get fit doing one of those classes.
Now with MMA and training, be it cardio or be it strength training, the big question for me is, and very popular amongst our Muslim women, with your attire. Do you have to have a specific attire? How would an individual like myself train in hijab? Is that possible?
Absolutely, it is possible. All right, the hijab is made to cover up. However, it doesn't restrict you from movement because it's not tight on you, okay? So, no, there's no restrictions, there's no, you know, from movement. So, yes, you can train in a hijab. I don't think
clothing should be an excuse for you not to.
Absolutely, because a hijab is designed to be loose on you and flowy, and movement shouldn't be restricted at all.
So Nazreen, would you be able to take us over to your gym and perhaps show us how we could train in hijab?
Absolutely, with pleasure.
All right, so we'll see you in a few minutes at your studio, and you can share those exercise tips and just training with hijab.
Thank you, Noshina. It was a pleasure being on your show.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so how amazing was that? What a beautiful exercise routine with Nazreen Ali, showing us that yes, it is possible to train in hijab. So we don't have to have a specific attire when we need to get into the gym or just try and do whatever exercise it is, be it cardio, be it strength training, be it self-defense. It is possible even wearing hijab. So that was an amazing show for us today, and I hope you've benefited from the fact that we've covered weight loss. How can you better yourself? How can you be consistent following a specific diet and combining it with exercise? So like Nazreen mentioned, it is 80% diet and 20% exercise. So I'm sure we've covered you 100% on how you can better yourself, looking good, feeling good, eating correctly, and definitely training.